What up, guys? Today we got a podcast with probably the most requested female guest that we've had. Her name is Ffion Davies. If you don't know who she is, she's one of the best female jiu-jitsu competitors out there. I mean, she's got Nogi Worlds. She's got ADCC. I mean, she's got some heavy titles to her name, and she was an absolute blast to talk with. So I think you guys will enjoy the conversation. And again, with this goes in when she gets into it, there's a few things in particular, mainly the feeling that she had after winning big titles. When she talks about this in the podcast, I think it's like just worth listening to, because I think it's something that all of us that are super driven by different goals and things like that, this is something I've dealt with. And I think it's something that a lot of times when I've spoken to high achievers, something they've struggled with. And so I think it's a really useful lesson on and off the mat, but really fun conversation. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. There will be a little bit of background noise in the podcast. Ffion was in a coffee shop. And so, which it normally, like, that stuff would bother me, but the actual podcast came out just fine and the noise wasn't too loud. I actually felt like I was having a conversation with a person inside of a coffee shop. So it'll probably sound like we're hanging out in a coffee shop, having a chat conversation. So I'm just giving you guys a warning about that, because I know sometimes people get really bent out of shape about the fact that, maybe the sound's not absolutely pristine. So I'm just letting you know, the sound's quality is still good.
It's good.
So if you like listening to people and learning from people, and again, maybe some background noise doesn't bother you, then you're fine. If you're one of those people that's such a stickler about it that you just can't enjoy it, and that you're going to be angry and you're going to send me some angry message about it after you listen to it, then this podcast won't be for you. Just listen to, like, a different week. So just heads up. As always, thanks to our sponsors for helping make this podcast happen. Charlotte's Web, you can check them out at charlottesweb.com. Charlotte's Web is a CBD company. They make top shelf, very strenuously tested CBD. So basically, CBD is an unregulated market. Who knows what's in the bottles? They actually did some studies, some tests from some third parties several years ago, where they went through and they bought a bunch of different CBD products, and essentially it was all over the place with what was in the bottle. Sometimes it was accurate, and in a lot of cases it wasn't. There were compounds that were not listed on the label that were in the CBD product, and then sometimes it was the opposite, where they said there was going to be this much CBD, and then they got it and there was not. So one of the things that's pretty cool about them is that eventually it'll be regulated. And you'll have some testing going on. They're already kind of pushing for that, because they test all their products already. When we went out there to see them in Colorado last year, they were showing us the farms, and they were telling about all these different processes that they go through, which is really interesting. And you can hear from them that, they all kind of had the same story, the same sort of culture, and the same sort of core values about producing a really good product that any of their family could use. And that's important to me. And so again, I shared this product with you guys because it's something I've used for several years now. And I find a lot of benefit out of it. Mainly I use it because I think it aids me in recovery. For anybody that's getting north of 30 years old, when you're training, recovery becomes something that becomes ever more important. When you're in your 20s, a lot of times it's an afterthought, right? You're not thinking about it. But when you're training and trying to be athletic and you're getting older, you start getting way more dialed into things because your body's different. And, one of the things, obviously, sleep is massively important. You have to get good sleep. It's not an if you can, it's like you have to perform at your best. Things like, for me, like limiting like screen time. I have lamps throughout the house that emit like red light at nighttime. So I turn those lamps on and turn off the big bright overhead lights. They're just lamps that are around the house. It's sort of much dimmer.
Yep.
And that tends to help me. And then I also give myself about an hour window to kind of wind down. And I like audiobooks. I'll put in audiobooks when I'm like winding down, and that kind of just helps kind of slowly get me into sleep. Also recently, just sharing this with you guys, when I don't know if you've ever had that situation where you like train really hard at night and then you go home and you have trouble sleeping. One of the things I've been trying recently, throwing it into the mix, is ashwagandha root and theanine. Now, you have to do your research on those, because I think ashwagandha root sometimes isn't good for certain people depending on their body. So again, consult your doctor. But I add those in at nighttime. So it's like, right now I'm trying out 100 milligrams of theanine with, I think it's 300 of ashwagandha root. And I think there's a couple different things. It's a KSM 66 or something, is like, it's one of the compounds of the ashwagandha root. And the idea behind it is those particular compounds can be useful in helping people deal with stress. and like ashwagandha roots and adaptogen and stuff like that. And again, not good for everybody to use, but you can try them out, look up, do your research. And then again, obviously CBD comes into that mix for the nighttime mix to help wind me down, to help aid me in recovery. And I feel like it helps out a bunch. So again, check them out at charleswebb.com if you want to get some CBD to try it out and see what you feel. And again, if you do go to their website, check out or use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order. And also, guys, thanks to our sponsor, Epic Roll, epicrollbjj.com. If you are trying to, or if you're interested in getting some really cool gear or apparel for jiu-jitsu, check out Epic Roll. Again, I'm a big fan. I wear the guy that runs the store, runs Epic Roll, Matt. He's the one that runs the whole thing. A jiu-jitsu guy, fellow black belt that makes jiu-jitsu gear for us. I wear the rash guards and the shorts and stuff that he produced, the jiu-jitsu stuff that he produced last year, pretty much almost every day. I've been beating the hell out of those shorts because, again, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for any length of time, I've been wearing the shorts. I really like his no-gi shorts that are Velcro-less. They don't have the Velcro going. And I really like those because a lot of times I would have shorts that would be intact, but then they wouldn't have the Velcro strap. It wouldn't be connecting anymore. It just gets really loose. And his are just a drawstring. And they're super comfortable. And I've been beating the tar out of those suckers for about 2 years. The original copy that I have, they're still going strong. There's no rips, tears, or anything else. And because there's no Velcro strap, they're still going. There's no problem. So again, check them out. And he also has gis, t-shirts, rash guards, the whole thing, everything jiu-jitsu related. You can get it there. epicrollbjj.com is the website. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu for 15% off. Again, when I'm giving you guys these promo codes, it's Chewjitsu, CHEWGITSU. And then also thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped just recently released a beard trimmer. And my beard, like, again, you can see it's pretty trim right now. So I'll give you guys like a little tutorial. Like, you use a longer blade under here. We use a shorter blade here, like basically to try to trim it up. What's neat about the beard trimmer is when I was trimming my beard with because again, I can use their lawnmower, which is like you can trim, it's basically a ball trimmer, but you can use it whatever you want to trim. And I would use that a little bit on the sides, but whenever I would have to actually shape my beard up, whenever it got too long, I would have to use my traditional trimmer, which it has a bunch of different guards. And so what they have right now, which is pretty neat, is they have the beard, I think they call it like the hedger or something like that.
Beard hedger.
Beard hedger, something like that. I forget the fun name that they give it, but the product itself is awesome. So basically you've got this little dial where you can basically just raise the guard up, or bring the guard down. So as I'm trimming my beard up, I can go, like, if I need a shorter guard here on the sides, closer to my face up here at the top, I can just bring it down, boom, trim it up. And then if I'm under here where I'm trying to leave a little bit of length under my beard for all you guys that have a beard, then we can lengthen it up and we can trim it down. So it's a really cool product. I'm actually I was pretty impressed with it. Again, it's sometimes it's like one of those things, you get something, you're like, what are you going to, it's a beard trimmer. Like, what can you do with it? But it's a pretty cool product. So whether you have a beard like me and you want to be able to trim it up very efficiently, or you just want to check out some of their other male grooming products. Again, they have a ton of stuff, everything from balms and lotions and colognes, all of which smell amazing, to the trimmers, nose trimmers, all the stuff that us guys have to deal with all of our facial fuzz and body fuzz. You can check them out at manscaped.com. And if you find anything that you like, that you want to get, you can use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off the order, and you get free shipping. It's a great deal. Check it out at manscaped.com. Also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. So again, along with the content that we add, which we have a little snippet from guests that we have, exclusive videos that are released there, again, that I do that get put up there, very similar to the YouTube style videos that make it up. Again, there's a lot of different stuff. Along with that, you will get I call them bonuses. They're in the members area, but they're mainly two bonuses that we put in there, which is one is a warm-up / muscle activation / you could kind of stretching mobility routine that Eugene put together. Takes about 20 minutes to finish. And it's really good. And then I also did a seminar where I'm showing gi and no-gi techniques that have worked for me really well in competition that we've put in there. And then along with that, you get to support this podcast that you're listening to every week. I know it's free, which is perfectly fine, and we'll continue to do it. And that's why we have to do the ads. But again, if you want to support the podcast so it continues to go on, patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And guys, if you want to get my daily email that I send out, typically Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, but mostly just Monday through Friday. You can do so by going to my website at chewjitsu.net/join. I'm starting to call the email something to chew on, an idea to chew on, something along those lines, because every email, again, I can't necessarily share like a technical something or other through an email, but I can give you an idea, a perspective, a mindset tip, something of that nature that can be useful to you. And again, along with that, you'll get access to some exclusive ebooks when you join, and you'll get access to exclusive offers that I do not release anywhere else. Or if I do release them anywhere else, they come first through the email. So check that out at chewjitsu.net/join. And also, guys, check out Ffion competing. If you enjoy this podcast, go check her out. She's competing on the next Polaris card, which is going to be March 11th. You can check that out at polarisprograppling.com, and it's also going to be on the UFC Fight Pass. So again, with that said, let's jump into this podcast with Ffion. How are you adjusting to the States?
Yeah, it's good. New York is quite intense. It's quite an intense change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of New York are you living in?
I'm in Harlem, so
Okay.
I'm right in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. When did you move? Like officially, you're here, right?
Yeah.
In the States?
Literally 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks
Okay.
ago. I'm very new.
Is it like a culture shock a little bit?
I've not had like a proper night's sleep. It's so loud. I'm like right by a train station, and there's a lot of like homeless people who scream outside. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Fun.
It's really fun.
Did you
really
say
fun.
scream outside?
I think, yeah, they just yell. I don't know what or why. There's a lot of rats. Big rats. Very big rats.
Where were you living at before?
I was the last year has been weird. I've been traveling literally for a year straight. Before that, I was in Dublin for like 4 to 5 years. So, and it's a city, but it's a lot smaller than New York. And
Okay.
I was in like a small like seaside town in Dublin. So
Probably a
it was
little bit
very,
more
like,
quiet.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to New York, and I think it's a fun place to visit, but it's a little too much for me. I like being able to go outside and see like green grass and just like walk around and like hear birds chirping and stuff.
I do like grass. I miss grass.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
So what is so we've actually I met JT, and JT's been on the podcast before, and you train with him now, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
He's like, so we were at ADCC actually, and I was talking to Chewy about this. We were at ADCC watching, and JT saw us, and like, I was very surprised he remembered me, but he's just the nicest guy, and we just kind of talked for a little bit. I think it was the day after.
It was the day after. Yeah.
So we chatted about his match a little bit, but like, why did you choose to train with like JT, and you've been everywhere? You've been probably all over the world. Why did you choose to train with JT in his gym?
I was like, when I first came to New York, it was before Gi World, and I was going around a few gyms, and one of them was obviously Essential, his gym, and everyone was very, very friendly there. And like you said, he seems to just remember everyone. Like everyone I talked to is like, oh yeah, he knew me, but we only met once when I was 13. And I was like, this man's memory is very impressive. And he's just so personable and kind, and he like really genuinely wanted to be helpful and support me. And then I decided then for ADCC, I would come back to New York and do my camp there. So that's where I just felt the most connected to people and where I enjoyed the training the most. Obviously, there's tons of good gyms in New York, but I just connected the most with people there. So I went back to the camp, and after that, we started working towards getting a visa for me to teach and train out there. It just kind of made sense to me. I just really enjoyed it, and I just left my previous gym, so I was like in a limbo sort of place. I didn't know where to train, where I was going to go next. And yeah, I just loved it. I really enjoyed it. I like New York a lot, even though I'll always make fun of it. Because it is a shithole. It is a shithole. But I like it in a strange way.
It has a weird. It's like when you're drinking alcohol. It has an acquired taste.
Yeah.
It wears on you a little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
I've aged 5 years in 3 months.
That's funny. Yeah. So do you think is that something that's super important to you? Like when you go to a gym, if you're finding a place to where you're going to call home, is finding a place where because obviously there's tons of gyms that have amazing training, but finding a place where you feel like you connect to the people on a personal level.
Yeah, that matters to me way more now, and I think with like time and experience as well. Like I've been to a lot of gyms, and there's tons of amazing gyms, and most of the best gyms kind of do the same sort of structure to their training. It's not like there's some magical secret, really. But for me, what's most important is the people, and finding people whose values I align myself with. And JT's the kind of person and coach I would like to be like. So that's the kind of person I want to surround myself with, if that makes sense. I want his sort of attitude and kindness to rub off on me. And I wouldn't want to surround myself with people who I don't want to be like on a personal level, not just the jiu-jitsu.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's when we had him out to the gym a couple of years ago to train with us and like do a seminar and stuff and train with the guys. You never really know who people are going to be, because it was my first time really getting to interact with JT on any real level. And I remember he was incredibly nice to everyone, from my wife, who doesn't really train much, to all the white belts and everything else. And he was that guy, whether he was in front of someone or when we were at dinner and stuff like that. And I can agree with that. Like finding people that not only do you want to be like when they're training and everything else, but the people that you want to surround yourself with off the mat as well, which is super important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think like to Chewy's point, the culture, like it kind of, you lead from the front, and the jiu-jitsu culture and the gym culture is like, gets to be so much more important, because it's at first you're there for the techniques and the training, but then after that you've got to have a little bit more. Like you said, there's so much great training in New York, just for example, all over the place. So like the culture you build, I think, is just like, as you start training longer and longer, it becomes more important.
Oh, exactly. And like, there's a lot of freaks in jiu-jitsu, let's be honest. There's so many, like, who are like, weird gym cultures, and it's like they're a bit culty.
Okay, I was wondering what you meant by freaks. I was like, how are we defining freaks? Because I was like, are we talking about athletic freaks or
in a bad way? Yeah,
in a bad way. Yeah.
Like everyone's strange, but some people be quirky in a nice way. But there's a lot of weird cults, and
What's some of the weirdest kind of culty things you've encountered at you don't have to say names, but like, what's one of the weirder things that you've encountered at a gym?
Luckily I've never trained at a gym that was super culty, but like hearing people like kiss people's hands and weird stuff like that.
Kiss people's hands.
Yeah, call them master.
Yeah, the master thing I never got down. Like I remember, like, I'll call you coach if you want coach. And I've gone to gyms where they wanted to call me professor or something. I don't really do that whole thing, But the one that I was like, I'm not calling a grown man master. It's just not going to do that one.
Not on the mats anyway.
Yeah, right. There we go. But when we're off the mats, we'll worry about that. That
was so inappropriate.
And I remember, like, one guy was telling me, he's like, the Brazilian word, like mestre or whatever, just translates directly over as master. I'm like, I get it, man. But like, being a guy from like the West, like, it's English speaking, like, I'm not calling a man master.
No, I mean, like, we say professor at the gym here.
Sure.
I crack on. Whatever. But it's not my cup of tea. Like, I would say to someone, you don't have to be professor. I didn't even finish school. Like, I didn't go to university. I have no qualifications. Like, just call me Ffion. It's fine.
Yeah. I've told my guys, I'm like, if you want to call me something, call me coach. Yeah. Because I have like enduring memories of coaches versus like when I think of like as professors, I don't really have any good memories from professors for the most part. Like all my good memories come from coaches that were there with me, like, training hard or pushing me or whatever. Professors just reminds me of someone sitting in front of a class, like droning on about something.
Yeah, I mean, I have no experience with professors. I didn't get that far.
Can you, so like going back kind of to you starting jiu-jitsu, starting martial arts, like, so did you kind of always know this was the path you're going to follow, or is it just something you kind of stumbled onto, something you liked?
Yeah, like I feel like it was something I always knew I was going to do, but it's always been in my life from as long as I can remember. Like I did judo as a kid, I didn't start with jiu-jitsu. So I did judo, and that has a lot of crossover. And I feel like in a very cheesy way, it was something I was meant to do. That's very, very corny.
Yeah.
But it's just always been something that's been in my life in some way or another. And like even after I quit judo as a teenager, like it found its way back into my life. If that makes sense, like through jiu-jitsu. And it's always been like the times when I was training and competing were always the happiest times in my life as well. If that makes sense.
Why did you quit judo?
I was a teenager. I was like 14, 15, and it's hard to explain. There's a lot of factors. It was never something I chose to do, and I think I wanted to explore other things and see if I had other interests. Like it was always something I did from like a very young age. Every single night of the week I'd go training, and then every weekend I would compete. So I'd never experienced life without it really that I could remember. So I really wanted that as a teenager. I think that's very common to want to go out and do things on your own. But then also I didn't have many friends. I was chronically shy. Like not like I couldn't speak to people. I could say yes or no, and that was it. Which now I can't shut the fuck up, which is ironic. Sorry.
You're making up for all the lost time.
Yeah, no, I just have to control every conversation. I'm like, try not to. But,
I do the same thing. I have a blabbermouth, and when I was younger, I was incredibly shy and had a stutter. And so maybe we're overcompensating on the other end as we get older.
Yeah, playing catch up.
What was it like, as far as like overcoming, is there something that helped you overcome your shyness, like over time?
Teaching jiu-jitsu. Like a big part of a jiu-jitsu character's income is either teaching seminars or classes. Like there's very few people who purely train and that's it. I don't think there's anyone really. So you have to be able to teach, and you have to, well, you don't have to, I guess. If you're so cool, you can be a shit teacher and get people to come, that's great. But I noticed that if I really wanted to teach the seminars, I have to be able to teach and, command the room as well. Not just be like whispering into the gi. It's like,
right.
Hey, grab it, and then no one knows what you're saying. So yeah, I have to get confident with that, and I don't know, I think it opened up as well. Like I picked jiu-jitsu. I chose to go to I found a class. It was all like self-motivated. So it helped me like get to know lots of different kinds of people as well. Older people as well, like people who are older than me, and I found it weirdly easier to connect with people who are older than me. Teenagers scare me, so that might be why as well. I have a fear of teenagers. I can't teach kids class. They scare me.
Why can't you teach a kids class? I've heard that from people before.
Because I was bullied as a child, so now I have a deep-rooted fear of children. They point out my flaws. They ask, "Why aren't you married?" And
start asking you like random questions. And you're like, let's not get into this.
Yeah, really, really personal questions. And then they make fun of my looks, and I'm like, that's why I didn't enjoy being a kid. So.
Oh, that's funny.
They scare me.
I've talked to like a lot of times when I have coaches and I'm getting them put into classes. One of the things that comes up is some of them get afraid of kids classes, and and a lot of them can't quite put their finger on what it is. So I'm always curious to dig and figure out what it is. But yeah, kids will ask like some really random stuff about like it's like they used to have those television shows where they would just put a kid up on a stage and they would just ask them questions and hear the responses because they're so honest or truthful because they don't have that voice. And so kids would do that sometimes to me as well. So I'm curious, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Like what you were doing judo, you quit judo. So what like got you into doing jiu-jitsu?
I got really fat.
What's really fat?
Like I didn't weigh myself because I used to weigh myself all the time for judo. So then I was afraid of the scales as well. There's a lot of trauma.
Sure. Yeah.
So I didn't want to weigh myself, but I was a large lady.
Okay, large lady.
Large lady. Yeah. I showed someone a photo and they were like, "That's not you," and I was like, "No, it is."
So was this when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
I was a fat teenager too. Hey.
Oh my god.
Fat shy teenagers.
Fat and shy.
There you go.
But it builds character. It does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically all that time I would go be at training. I had the whole evening to eat, and so I did. And also, my parents don't really cook. They're amazing, but they're not like we didn't have like sit down dinners and stuff like that. It was like go in the kitchen and they work night shifts, so they'd be asleep when I was awake.
So you were eating whatever was in the kitchen.
I was eating everything, anything and everything. So I had all this time to eat, and I wasn't doing any exercise. So it was a very big lifestyle shift that I never had to think about before. I never had to worry about diet or anything really, other than like stupid judo starvation diets, which like you'd like weigh something in your hand and hope that it didn't. It was very like illogical. Wow. But yeah, so like I had to figure out like diet, exercise. I started going to the gym and doing weight training. And then I was literally like, this is so boring. I'm not motivated just to be skinny. Like that's not like fun for me. Like I find it hard to go to the gym and just like squat. I was like, this is boring. So then I wanted to do something that was like a sport, because then you're distracted because you're playing a game. And I'm very competitive, so. And then I found like MMA. This guy in my school who used to do judo as well. He's in my brother's year group, and he was doing MMA, and he was like fighting for a title or something on some show. So I was like, oh, I want to be like Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey was getting really big at the time.
Okay.
So I envisioned myself.
And she did judo, yeah.
Yeah. At a much higher level than me.
Of course. And
so I was like, I could be the next Ronda Rousey, obviously, delusion. And then I started doing MMA, and the coach was like, well, you have to do this like ground stuff. And I was like, that's really, really nerdy. That's what we used to make fun of it in judo, the groundwork, which is ironic now, because I just lay on the floor all day. But yeah, and then I was like, I actually don't want to be punched in the face, believe it or not. And yeah, then I got into jiu-jitsu instead. So that's kind of how it happened.
Very cool. Did you ever do some stand-up sparring? And is that how you learned that you didn't want to be punched?
I had 4 fights.
Oh, did you have 4 fights? Oh, fantastic.
Cool.
At the lowest level you could ever imagine. Like they found someone off the street and then they in the cage.
I understand. I started fighting back. I had 13 fights. My first fight was in 2006. Yes. And I mean, the guy that they fought he said he was from a team in air quotes, but like, he's in the back, like doing pads with his girlfriend and never trained a day in his life. And so I understand completely, but you actually did it though. How did your fights go?
I did win, which is funny. But I think I just won purely off like ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. Now I think back, like that was incredibly dangerous. I had no striking. The training was like get in the cage with these very large men, and they would just hit me really hard. And I probably have some brain damage now. But I was like, I was loving it.
That's awesome.
What about like jiu-jitsu? I know you're competitive, you said. When did you kind of like fall in love with jiu-jitsu, and also when did you realize you're actually pretty good at it?
I think from the get-go, I was like, this is literally just judo plus. Like all the things I wasn't allowed to do in judo, I'm now allowed to do them. And you can't I'm a really bad driller. Like I know that drilling is important, but I'm really bad at it. I can't, like, if someone shows me a technique, I don't know what you just showed me. I was looking at the wall, and I with all good intention was trying to listen to you, but I'm staring at the wall now. It's not how I work, and I would find that so hard in judo to like pay attention. But then in jiu-jitsu, it was like you can kind of make it up. Like someone gives you a few little concepts, and then you can kind of figure it out. And I really just like that aspect. It's way more creative. There wasn't so many rules, like in comparison to judo.
Yeah.
Also, no-gi. I was like, this is hilarious concept. Like, with our jackets are off. And I always found the grip fighting really difficult and stuff like that. So then we had our jackets off, and I could actually like get closer to someone and do different, like the types of throws I like are all like hip tosses. And with like the grip exchange in judo, I'd find it kind of difficult with the more technical girls to get in close for those like hip tosses. And then it was like no-gi, it was just way easier. It's like, there's no grips there. Yeah. So I just found it was way more open and creative, and you couldn't really go wrong. Or like you could, but I don't know.
Sure.
Like you could start again and try again.
Well, and I feel like too with judo, at least from the friends that I have that were big into judo, their judo practices, and you can correct me if this was not the way that it worked for you. In judo, we have a lot more like rolling or open sparring and things like that, where we can play around with stuff. Whereas in judo, they would do their practices where they're just drilling the whole entire time, and then they would have a day where they come in and just like they actually just like fight the whole time. opposed to like doing a little mixture of everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know for me, I'm a little bit like squirrely and ADHD too, where if I just had to drill it, but I didn't get a chance to actually get my hands dirty and mess around with it, it wouldn't connect in my brain as well as it does if like I learn a little bit about it and then I still don't kind of get it, but then I get to go like mess around with it in like a live or situational sparring, and then I actually get a chance to like learn it. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I totally get you. I'm very much, I'm like sort of thinking about types of learners, but I kind of need to like immediately put my hands on someone and try it.
Yes.
I'm not, that doesn't mean like full resistance, but
Right.
I need to like get stuck in. I love learning, and I used to think, oh, like I'm stupid, I can't learn, you know, things like that. Jiu-Jitsu really did teach me that I can learn. I just have like a different learning style, maybe, you know, like
you're not you're not a sit down in a classroom for 8 hours and get blasted with information learning. You're a person that has to do something with their body to learn.
Yeah, I need to get stuck in to sort of understand it, and I need to ask a lot of questions, and I need someone who's comfortable with me asking lots of questions and not take it as that I'm questioning them. Like I'm not questioning them at all. I just want to know, I want to understand, and I want to know why I'm doing something. So yeah, like when you have those sessions where it's like repeated drills and no one explaining to me why we were doing it, or like now I can't relay that information to someone. Like there's a lot of pros I can do that I find it hard to explain. Whereas I don't have that problem with jiu-jitsu because I had to like try and deeply understand from the get-go. Whereas like a lot of that's just muscle memory. Now I'll like go back and try and like understand it. But yeah, it's so weird when I like a lot of it's like muscle memory from judo in comparison to like how much I feel like I could explain a technique in jiu-jitsu. It's really really interesting.
So has teaching really like, and this is when we ask people about teaching, becoming an instructor, do you feel like that's really helped your ability to break down a technique and also your own ability to learn techniques and maybe even implement them?
Yeah, I love teaching. I feel like it's made my jiu-jitsu improve way more. And like, I feel like that's my favorite aspect of all of jiu-jitsu, I think, actually, is like coaching and teaching. Obviously I love competing, but I'm excited for like after, you know, I don't know, not after my competitive career because I'll always want to compete, but when I get less serious about competing and I focus on having my own gym, I think I will be overall happier because I really love it. And yeah, this helps you understand what you're doing yourself way more, and because I struggle myself with learning, I feel like it puts me in a position where I want to make sure I can explain it to like a child if I need to. Preferably not though, because they scare me. But
that's right. We're afraid of them.
We are afraid.
What do you love about teaching?
I just love that. Like what I noticed as well, I used to teach a lot of women, like women only classes, because as the resident girl, you're usually lumped with women only classes / children. So they won't let you, not always, but like, it was like, oh, you're the girl, teach women only, and you wouldn't really get the chance to teach mixed classes. But I'm grateful for it now because basically, like, you see so many girls come in and they would be so hesitant and shy, and they would be like, oh, I can't do it, like, straight away. Whereas guys would be like, not all, I don't mean all, but like, a lot of guys will just assume they already know.
Yeah.
Like, and not with any malice, just sort of like, I know how to fight, I'm a man, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like seeing someone like, I don't know, like start to understand something for the first time and like giving them the confidence that they don't necessarily have, like that's probably my favorite part of it. It's like seeing them like hit a move and they're just like so surprised at themselves. That's like so exciting. I love teaching beginners. Like it's the best thing ever. They're so excited about everything.
Yeah, well, and it's probably a beautiful thing for you because, again, like as being a shy teenager who maybe when you were overweight lacked a certain amount of confidence, but you get to kind of like give someone else this ability to do this thing. And you know, it's funny, you like when we with you were I think probably the most requested guest from like women. So like we get message from guys, women, whatever, and like almost every woman that's like messaged me, she's like, you know, they'll send me like, hey, get this person on, get this person on. And I think you were probably the most requested guest. And to go along with that, what you were talking about with women classes and stuff like that, I think it's important to like to get other, because, you know, guys for the most part in society, we grow up and we're not all, but we grow up, a lot of us, rough and tumble. We fight with each other. It's just what we do. A lot of times with women, they're not as, it's not always the case because obviously like you did judo as a child, but a lot of women, they don't spend their time this close with someone else and they don't feel comfortable with that space. And so it's a cool thing to have a really skilled woman leading at the top to be like, hey, look, you can do this too. Just like Ronda Rousey was a model for you. Like, I want to get into MMA because Ronda Rousey did it. You can be like, well, if a woman walks in and she's apprehensive, I don't know if I can do this. There's like, oh, there's Ffion. I can do this because she did it, right? It gives them like a beacon to say, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to have that. Like, and I didn't realize how important it was because, like you said, like it's hard for me sometimes when I'm asked questions from the perspective, like, as a woman, da, 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 da. It's like that sort of, that's a very common question. And obviously I am a woman, but, and like, I have that perspective, but I've trained since I was a child in a male-dominated sport. Like, it was judo, rugby, and now jiu-jitsu. So it's hard for me to answer those questions and to say the importance of like a women-only class. And I didn't originally like the idea of a women-only class because I was like, no, like we can just get them in with the men. Like, let's, I don't want this. Like, I want us to all get trained together. And I do want that still. But from teaching a women-only class, I saw how many girls would never have started if it wasn't for that class. And then I was like, this is important. Like, this is a perspective I don't have. I did do sport as a child, but most women grow up being told, don't get rough, like, don't get dirty, stay on the sidelines, excluded from sport for a lot of time, or excluded from the types of sport that they probably would have been interested in if they had like role models doing the same thing, or so yeah, I think those classes are really important. And when I said earlier about the women get, like, you can teach the women-only class. I still want to teach women-only classes, but I also think it's important to see a woman teaching a mixed class, seeing a woman teach men as well, because there's absolutely no reason why not, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. It's like with one of my female black belts. She just got her black belt last week. We're doing Kimura attacks and stuff like that. That's kind of the sequence that we're on right now. And she has a really good Trico Plata. And so, I mean, like, the best one in the gym. Nobody in the gym can do it better than her. So I was like, hey, next Wednesday, I want you to teach my class because I want you to teach that move because it'll go great with the Kimura attacks that we're doing. And again, she's skilled enough where everybody in the mat's going to be like, she's going to take the lead, and everybody's going to be like, yep, she knows what she's doing. And so I think that's probably a culture thing. Because I know that back in the day, it used to be like if a woman was teaching, sometimes you'd hear like grumbles of like, almost kind of like, it's like a bunch of guys learn from women. It's like, but then when you roll with a woman that is really good, who's really skilled, again, it's like one of those things where it kind of changes what you think about the whole situation, the whole dynamic.
Absolutely. And I definitely, it's so different now. Like, I always find it funny when, I'll be talking to girls and they're like, oh, like, there's not many girls here tonight, but there's 5 of them. Like, back in my day, I changed
there
in
were
the
none.
Cupboard. I'd get changed in the cupboard, and there was no shower for the women and all this stuff. No, but like the kind of things people would say in judo when I was a kid were absolutely insane. Compared to, like, no one would say that. Well, they might, but like very rarely now.
Like what?
Really, like, I remember me and my friend were trying to do a uranagi, like it's like kind of like a suplex throw. And one of the coaches, the Russian guy, was like visiting to coach, and he was, we'd like put our hands up, like ask for help, like, oh, like how do we, like, just ask for details on the technique, and he was like, this throw is not for you, you're a woman.
Oh wow.
And walk, like, legit, and I was like, okay, and we like sort of like shrugged it off because it's so normal for them to act like that we were like, okay, yeah, no worries, and then we just carried on drilling it, like whatever, just ignore him, and like being told I shouldn't do press-ups, like, because I could do full press-ups off my knees, and they were like, no, you have to do them on your knees.
Oh, like a push-up?
Push-up.
Yeah. Oh, push-up.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. You're in America now. Let's get with the program. The push-ups.
So sorry. Push-ups. Yeah. Like, actually, the kids roast me when I say press-ups. They're like, what? Sorry.
So even though you could do them without doing them on your knees, you were told to do them on your knees?
Yes, and they said the reason why is that I would get breast cancer.
What?
I was like, okay.
That's scientific.
Very
Trust the science on that one.
A lot of science.
Woo.
So, as far as like, that just threw me off. I don't even know what I was gonna say. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. As far as like being comfortable, is there like something that you recommend to gyms Chewy get together.
I can't. I just keep envisioning her being like a little child over there doing push-ups.
Let's do like 10.
Don't do it. You're gonna get breast cancer.
I was like 10. I didn't even have it.
It's so stupid.
They need to put that like on a PSA on television, right? Like,
What the hell was I saying? Get it together.
sorry, I'm back. I'm back.
So as far as like women in the gym, obviously you're one of very few when you started training back in your day, as you said. Now, like a lot more women training. There's women's only classes. If you go to a gym or maybe somebody's running a gym with women, is there something that you recommend or you look for to like make the gym more welcoming?
I don't think there's anything in particular other than just treat us equally. And that sounds really obvious, but like a lot of gyms will go, we don't have any women, so we're not going to have a women's changing room. Well, then you're not going to have any women, because I'm going to I'll turn up to a gym and be like, okay, here's the cupboard you can go into, or you can take it to the toilet. It's like you're not giving us a space to grow into. There will probably always be less women, unfortunately, in jiu-jitsu. But like it's like starting from the top, right? If you behave in a way where like okay, there's no women, so we're not gonna have a change room. Well, it's not gonna grow from there. Whereas any sort of gym I've seen that's provided a space like that, a person comes in and they go, oh, they want me here because they have a space for me, and then it grows from there. I really think, I know it's such a simple thing having a change room, but it goes a long way. And at Essential, there's a very pretty changing room. But yeah, stuff like that, like just, wanting us there, like genuinely, not just being like, there's no girls and this is annoying, and like sort of being like, putting the blame on women. It's like maybe the culture in the gym as well, the way people talk. I've been in rooms, again, from when I was younger, not so much now in jiu-jitsu, maybe when I started, but like not now at all. But I've been in rooms where I'm the only woman, and people sort of, because I've always been there, they sort of forget I'm a woman, and they'll say things. I've always, like when I was younger, for sure, I was very much like a pick me. Have you heard that term? It's like a
Tomboy.
Kind of, right? So like it's basically like internalized misogyny, where I would sort of, act in a way that I thought men wanted me to act, and I'd make like sexist jokes about women.
I got you.
To fit in,
Got you.
And it's very, and I would never do that now. I would yell at people, and they'd be uncomfortable. But I would do that a lot, and I'm like, oh yeah, women should be in the kitchen. Like I'm not like other girls, kind of thing, just to fit in, because I was so used to getting sexist comments that I felt like that was the only way to sort of survive in the gym culture. So that people would forget then that I was a woman, essentially, and they would say the most like crazy stuff, and get so comfortable. And then like if another woman walked in, who hadn't been brought up in like a male dominated environment, they would just be like, why the hell would I want to be here? Like that's disgusting, like the way they would talk. So I think like keeping in check the way people are talking in the gym as well. But I think that also changes a lot by having women in the space as well.
Sure. Well, just being mindful and respectful to everybody there, because again, I know that like the way that women talk to other women, like if you have a group of all women, they talk to each other a certain way that's going to be different if there's men inside the room. And then the way that guys sometimes talk to guys is different than when there is a female in the group, and just always recognizing who's in that group and being respectful to the dynamic and everything that's going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Ffion, how did you, do you feel like you're one of the, usually probably one of the smaller people on the mats for the most part. Do you feel like there's certain techniques that you were really drawn to for like your body type or your size, as opposed to some other things? Is there like a way that like maybe you developed your game?
Yeah, definitely. I think you always adapt to the training room, the training room.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really normal, and I've always had like mostly male training, mostly big, and they tend to be bigger. I've always gravitated like with my passing for sure, like more float style passing, because I can't really stop people elevating me. Like I'm always going to be elevated to some degree in the training room at least. So like I think my passing adapted a bit around that. I really like pressure passing, but it's a lot more difficult to practice that every single day. So then, like with my training partners, they tend to be bigger, so I kind of can't really practice that style, even if they're a lower level. Like I'm always going to struggle with that weight difference for the most part. With that, and then any sort of technique that gravitates towards taking the back, I feel like is always going to be better for me. If I'm behind someone, it's hard for them to use their weight, if that makes sense. And then I think I play a lot more guard in the gym now. I do prefer top, but I like takedowns. But it's hard to practice that to a high volume day in, day out when you have like large training partners. So I think my guard has improved a lot thanks to that in a way as well. Being forced to play bottom.
So, quick question, not really quick, but when did you decide to go in, like, all in? Like, when were you, like, doing jiu-jitsu, you're, like, competing, you're having some success, you feel like, okay, I like this. When did you just say, like, I'm going to go all in on this 100%, not going to look back, and I'm going to do this stuff full time and try to make something out of it?
The way I sort of was approaching it before was, I don't know what I want to do with my life. All I know is that I love this and I'm obsessed with it. And I'm just going to get jobs that fit around it until I can figure out what I want to do. I think at first I did not see myself having a gym or being a coach. I hadn't seen any women do that. Like on their own, not without a partner. It's always like a boyfriend and her, and then it's his gym really, but she gets to teach sort of thing. That's kind of when I first started. That was kind of the vibe. Obviously now there's way more female-led gyms, so I just didn't see that happening to myself. Unfortunately, now I do, but it's different.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just found ways to train. Like I teach. I'd work in a bar. I did door work. Any sort of job that I could train around. And then I think the biggest point was when I won Brown Belt Worlds. And at the same time, me and my ex-boyfriend broke up and he had his own gym. So it was like uncomfortable for me to train there anymore. Yeah. And like the affiliation head was like in Ireland. So I was like, I'll go to Ireland for a bit and just train. And I'd won some money at World Pro. I got silver and I got $5,000. So I was like, I can live off this for a bit, and I quit my job and went to Ireland. But like, I'll just stay out here until my money runs out, and then I have to go home and sort out my life. And basically, like, it was the first place I'd been where people were training full time, like day and night. So I was like, this is so cool. Like, people are like, they all go to like Europeans, Pans, Worlds, like that whole circuit. They compete all the time. Like they're all pursuing the same thing as me. Like a group of people. I'd never had that before. It was always me going on to tournaments on my own. So that was like so unique. And then I was like living off this money. And then I won Brown Belt Worlds, and it was like, okay, someone asked me to do a seminar for like £500. And I was like, if I can do one seminar a month, I can live out in Ireland, because I was staying in my friend's like spare room, and they let me stay there for free, so I didn't have to worry about rent. I just had to worry about like feeding myself. So like every month I had to get a seminar, or I'd have to go home. So that was kind of how it worked out. And then eventually I started getting more seminars, and it worked out, but it was a risky time.
That's super cool. Did I read somewhere that you were like at the bar? Were you a bouncer?
I was, yeah.
Okay. How tall are you?
5'4".
5'4". So when I think of bouncer, because I mean, all of us like back in the day would do a little security work from time to time because it was like an easy gig for what we did. I wouldn't take you as like the bouncer type.
No, well, you know, it worked because I think when the big, like, strong, scary men come over to ask to leave, the guys will like kind of get aggressive. But I would go over and be like, oh, please can you leave? Like, I'm so sorry. And they would be really nice about it a lot of the time. And they would just go. I
got you. So like the attractive, nice lady comes over and it kind of disarms them and like, all right, now you can leave. And did you ever have any situations where guys were drunk and maybe tried to get like aggressive with you?
Oh yeah, but like there was one time there was a big fight, and then I was trying to separate some people, and they were like, guys, it's a bird, and they stopped. Like the whole fight stopped. They were swinging and they just punched each other. And I was like grabbing someone, and they went, guys, you gotta stop. It's a bird. And they all stopped. And then it was amazing. But no, mostly women. Yeah, one girl bit me.
Nice.
Like gouged my sides. It was really like be more aggressive. I felt like with the guys, like if I'd be fighting one, and then they sort of feel that like it was going to be a harder fight than they thought it was going to be, and they're like, oh shit, like quite strong, and then they get embarrassed and they stop.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. They could sort of feel, oh, I don't want to like get caught fighting a girl flat out. If that makes sense. So
yeah, you don't want to get caught fighting a girl flat out, and you don't want to get caught fighting a girl flat out and losing it, and then that not be. Yeah, okay, I got you.
So it never really escalated into too much. Not really, unless they were super drunk. But yeah, I usually had other people helping me as well, so it was never like. And they all trained, so it was very safe.
The bites are a real thing. Like when you like with the bites and people's nasty mouth. Like I remember I had friends that would like they could have someone in some sort of lock or something and trying to get them to chill, and the person would bite, and then they have this huge imprint. They'd have to get antibiotics and everything else.
Yeah.
Is there so it's kind of like a very unique time where you're still trying to make it, from seminar to seminar, really surviving so you could kind of compete and train. Is there something about that time in your life that maybe was a happy memory, a very enjoyable memory, or something maybe that was kind of tough for you or a tough time for you?
It was like that. It was such a happy time. Like I loved it. It's definitely stressful, but it was always like but I was very lucky, like if it all messed up, I could just go home to my parents and get a job. Like it was never like, oh, I'm gonna be on the street. It wasn't like that. Like my parents are very supportive and lovely, so it was always like I can go back and live with them. They're not gonna be. They've always been very supportive because they used to take me up to judo practice every night. They understand the lifestyle to some degree. And they were like, I really want you to get a proper job and be able to make your own money properly, and we don't have to worry about you and all this. I sort of lied to them about how bad the situation could be as well sometimes, so they wouldn't, freak out. But yeah, that was always an option to go home. And so it was like, that's the worst case scenario. You can figure out what's the worst case scenario, and that's not terrible. It's not great, but I could still train and have a job like I was doing before. So yeah, like it was a really happy time. Like I'd go to loads of tournaments. I was like hustling all the time. I was really focused because I was like, I've got to win this tournament. Because what would happen was if I won a tournament, people would see, I'd post about it, and then they'd go, oh, can I get you for a seminar? And when I go asked to do a seminar, I'd post the seminar, and people would see that I was doing seminars and ask me to do another one, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I've never messaged a gym asking to do a seminar because I was too embarrassed. I just had to hope that someone would ask me.
Sure.
So I just, kept showing that I was competing and showing that I was teaching and posting all the time about, do you want me for a seminar? Yeah, me.
Yeah. Well, it feels awkward to go to someone and say, "Hey, do you want me to go to your school and teach a seminar?" Like, I mean, I don't like. So I'm the same way. I've never gone to anybody and say, "Hey, do you want me to teach a seminar at your gym?" I've taught plenty, but I don't. It feels awkward to go to approach someone.
Oh, 100%. I didn't even know that the people did that. Like, I was like, I understand. Oh, sorry, my phone's going off. I understand why people do it. Of course, like it makes sense. Like especially if you go to a certain area and you're like, oh, if you're interested in my ranks and stuff. But I didn't know that you could really do that. So I hope for the best. Hope that someone would be interested, and it worked out eventually.
When do you think your life kind of changed? Was there a moment after maybe a tournament, or like just like one day you're like sitting back and realize that you've kind of your life has kind of evolved and changed to this thing where you're now one of the elite names in jiu-jitsu, and you can actually make your living doing jiu-jitsu. You're not struggling from seminar to seminar.
I think when I won Nogi Worlds as a black belt, it was my second tournament as a black belt actually, and so I had no idea sort of where I was in the rankings realistically. I mean, I fought a few of the girls before as a lower belt. Like I went to ADCC and I fought Ffion Davies, like first round. I was a brown belt at the time. Like that's hard to sort of see where you are because it's literally the very best person in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm some random brown belt spurred dream. So it was very hard to sort of see. I was like, that's not a fair comparison. How do I measure up against all the other girls? So I did Nogi Worlds. I won that. And I think that's when I started getting paid by my sponsor. So that was like a huge game changer, because then I could actually not stress as much about making money every single month off a seminar. So that was a huge moment. And then I think ADCC, where I got silver, was a huge turning point as well, because I just like got tons of followers, and I was like, what is going on? And it was like the maddest thing ever. It's like, okay, cool. And I got asked to do loads of seminars, and it was great.
How was it? So getting, ADCC is like kind of the pinnacle for most people. It's pinnacle in your grappling, and so getting silver. What was that like for you? Were you like, how did you deal with the loss, and were you happy you made it that far, or were you disappointed? And what was your kind of process of coming back? And then obviously in 2022 you won gold. So what was that like for you?
Oh, I was gutted. I was so sad. Like, I was so happy after the semi-final. Like, literally the happiest I've ever been in my life. Like, I could lay an egg. And then to the saddest I think I've not ever been, that's a drag, but like definitely it felt like I just literally got proposed to and then dumped at the altar like the next minute. Because I just got in my head, I was like, I'm gonna win. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna actually win this. Because, Bia was the obviously both Bias are amazing, but like in my head it was like Bia is the hardest match. And then I know, like, not underestimating Bianca by any means, of course not, but I think maybe I got overexcited by that match.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. Yeah. So it was definitely tough but everyone else was sort of like, oh, but you got silver, that's so great. But I was like, I think I can win.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just like podium or medal or whatever. I really felt like I could win, and I think that's what was disappointing. But yeah, it was such an amazing experience, and it opened so many doors. And then I got in my head, I was like, okay, third time lucky, and I kept like repeating this to myself, that it's the third time. I love the number 3, third time lucky, and then like deluding myself that it would be the next time.
Well, as far as like losing, like what did you go through? What was the process after you like to kind of get yourself back to training and feeling, like you want to kind of get back up, get going again?
I wanted to train straight away, but basically like I tore my MCL, so I couldn't. I had to like limp around. My ankle was like a balloon.
Oh wow.
So I had to like rest, and that was really frustrating because I just wanted to go back and train straight away, but I had to like rest it for like I think 2 months. So that was annoying, and I was like so down like the whole time afterwards, like really hard on myself, like unnecessarily hard. Like there was no need for that. Instead of sort of appreciating that win and being like, yeah, I wanted to win gold. This is still a great achievement, and that's something that I do regret about even like winning other majors. Like I remember I got double gold at Europeans, and I didn't let myself be happy. Like I was like, but it's not worlds. Like that's the most stupid thing ever. Like this is such a great achievement, and I was like, but this is not worlds though. It's not worlds, so I'm not allowed to be happy about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing too, because like it's like you put this big fixation on this thing, but then I don't know about you, like I've set certain goals in just different areas, and same thing, I'm not satisfied until I get X goal, whatever that might be, and then you get that goal, at least for me, and it's like I get excited about it a little bit, but then it's okay, what now? Right? Like I got to do something. What else am I going to do? Do you have that same experience?
Absolutely, and it's not a nice thing to say, because I think people want to hear the opposite, of course. But like for example, like I won Gi Worlds and ADCC last year, and after Gi Worlds, I've just felt empty and numb. Even though it was my biggest goal. And then ADCC, the night before the final, I was like crying to one of my best friends because I was literally crying. And I was like, if I win, like I know I'm gonna be miserable because this is like the last goal off my list. Like,
what else now?
Yeah, and I was so like, that sounds really stupid. Obviously I wanted to win, and then I won, and then I was miserable for like 2 months afterwards. I was like going around teaching seminars. I was a little bit injured, like I had some injuries. So I wasn't able to like train very much, but I was just going around teaching seminars, so doing loads of travel, trying to distract myself, and I was so down, like so miserable, just been like, this is it. Like, it didn't feel the way, like my life hasn't completely changed. Lots of good things have come from it. Like, and now like I'm much more happy and content about it, but it's such a strange feeling. I think it's common as well. I think it's a lot more common than people like realize.
Right. And have you ever read The Alchemist, the book?
No.
So in the book there, it's like it's a fictional story, but like trying to like share like useful messages throughout it. And I remember I was experiencing this same thing before years ago, and it was like one of those things where I was like, I should be happy, but for some reason I'm not. And in the book there's this story about this shop owner who the main character is going to Egypt to see the pyramids. And so the shop owner who he meets in, I think it's in like Algeria or Morocco or something, he's like, I want to see the pyramids too. And so the guy's like, well, you can come with me. We'll go see the pyramids together. And he's like, I can't go. And he's like, why? Why don't you want to go? He's like, because if I see them, then the thing that I want to see in life, the thing that like drives me to keep doing the things that I'm doing will be gone. And then what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know like what you took from it. From me, I took from it from the fact of, and so many people say this and you hear this all over the place, but I feel like until you get it, you don't really get it. But for me, it was one of those things where I had to get really comfortable and really focused on like all the stuff that I was doing leading up to these goals, because it was all that stuff. Like for instance, a competition, I get a gold medal here, take a picture. All right, it's going to go on a shadow box in my gym. I'm excited to lead by example for my students. But like for me, it was like all the training leading up to it, all the drilling sessions, the camaraderie you're building. I find the love for that stuff opposed to the end result. And if it's in the business, it's all the cool things that you're doing with the business to make it what it is. For you, do you think that maybe after winning all that stuff, do you think that it's maybe helping you find more of a love for the day-to-day stuff opposed to just the end result stuff, or did you take something else from it?
No, absolutely. Like, that's such a good point, and I do feel the same. Like, I love the training camp at ADCC. I love training day in, day out. I love learning. I love getting better at jiu-jitsu. Competitions, I think for me, it has to be a bonus to everything. And I fight better when I'm relaxed and when it's not my whole world.
Right.
And I think I made it my whole world for so long, and didn't really nourish my friendships and relationships outside of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. And I see people do it, and I'm like, oh, like they make it everything to them. And that dedication is amazing, but it's a dangerous game to play because, like, I won these things, and I was like, but like, what else do I have? Like, I don't. Yeah. That sounds really sad, but like, I do have amazing friends, and and stuff like that. But like, I was like, but I don't have my own gym. I don't have a relationship. I don't have these things. And it made me sort of like assess the rest of my life and be like, maybe I need to put more effort into other things, or make sure that it's not my only focus. And it makes you fight more relaxed as well. It makes you open up when you're competing, because it's not like, I put value into being exciting on shows, for example, or like having a game that I'm proud of, instead of like just trying to nudge a victory. Have a game where it's like exciting to watch, whether you win or lose, if that makes sense. So
yeah, because if that's all you have in life is this one thing, then you become very needy, right? Like, and I always tell to put it in terms for like some of my young guys or something, that if I'm talking to them, I'm like, if you go on a date with someone and you're needy, like you're like clingy because you don't have anything else on the, nothing else is going on, it's going to come through. And then like when you're competing, and I know this maybe is crude, but when you compete, it's the same thing. If you have nothing else going on in your life, like you said, and this is it, then when you have those chances for opportunities for a technique that would look really cool, but it's a high risk, high reward kind of situation, you may not take the opportunities, because if you lose, what else do you have? Yeah. But if you know that you have the relationships, the friendships, and this whole life outside of this thing that is not affected by whether you win or this gold medal or not, then it's like, well, shit, let's just go for it. And if I win, great. If I don't, whatever.
Yeah. And like, I'll always be sad if I lose, but like, there's a difference between being, I'm sad that didn't go my way, I'm going to work harder, and my life is over. Like, the world is over. I'm so like depressed. I'm so miserable. I'm so hard on myself afterwards. Like, there's a very big difference between just being like, oh, that's a shame, and like, okay, we'll go back and work on it, than just like being absolutely devastated.
So going into the Polaris Pro on March 11th, there's a Grand Prix, 66 kilogram Grand Prix. There's 8 competitors.
Yeah.
And so, like, what's your mindset? How do you feel going into this competition? Is there anything different for you? Like, do you feel anything that's unique or different as opposed to other tournaments you've been a part of?
I have really like put it in my head that this is like the absolute for ADCC.
Yeah.
Because women don't get absolutes, we don't get a super fight. We have 2 divisions.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So like in my head now, like because Amy's in it and there's a few other competitors for ADCC, I've sort of made it like in my head, this is the absolute. And like I really, really can't wait to do it. I'm excited for it. And it's like, obviously there's a huge prize, but there was also a lot of like, not drama around it, but like a lot of people kicked off to get this to happen, and a lot of people shouted. Well, I was one of them.
Yeah.
Woo.
It's super exciting though. Like, I mean, like Amy, like you said, won ADCC as well, and she's, I mean, like an up and comer, and you've kind of already established yourself. You're kind of like at the top almost. Like, do you feel more pressure? Do you feel pressure at all, like doing this thing?
No, not really. Like I feel like a little bit of pressure. Like I always feel that regardless of where I'm sort of measured up in. But I don't see myself as a favorite in this at all. Whether like other people do or not is whatever. But I don't, because like it's 66 kilo, but like I think a lot of the other girls are cutting down. So there's that aspect. So I do like competing against people who are a bit bigger, because I think like I train with people who are a bit bigger, kind of stylistically measures out a bit like that. I haven't fought a lot of this division bar, I think Brianna, and that's it. The rest I've never fought before, so because we're never in the same division, so that's exciting. And no, not really. There's like a lot of I think I know a lot of the girls already, and I've known of them for a while, so maybe it's different because like I'm always keeping an eye on the women's divisions. Whereas maybe like others will see them as they come through the top. If that makes sense. But
And going back to what you said about an open division, I don't know about you. Whenever I do an open division, it's always kind of like, you know, usually you've already done your division, so you've medaled or you've won the division. The open's kind of like fun because it counts, but it doesn't count, right? Like, because it's not like your division, so you can go in there and just like, all right, we're gonna go have fun and see what happens. So maybe it's something like that where it's like this isn't really your division, so this is just like, let's see what we can do.
Definitely, that gives me a lot more freedom to just go hard as well. Like it doesn't like I don't really cross over these girls bar in absolute for the most part. And also it's in the UK, so I got the hometown on site. I hope. You better be shouting for me, you pricks. So that is really cool. I mean, my hometown's not Doncaster. I don't think it's anyone's hometown by like 3 people. But
it's someone's hometown.
It's someone's. Yeah. Doncaster is an interesting place.
Small place?
Very small. I don't actually know where it is. Somewhere in the UK.
There you go.
But it's sold out, so there we are.
That's awesome. What's your training camp been like for this one? Is there anything like new or different, or just kind of found a formula that works? You've been kind of keeping it the same?
I've been working on new stuff, like different techniques, and trying to like change my game a bit. And I love that aspect of it as well. Like I always think, okay, for like this like season of like obviously ADCC is over, so now I'm looking at like a new crop of competitions coming up, and I was like try and approach it as to make things interesting, like to work on something new to try and bring into competition, to try and do in competition as well. I think that also helps take pressure off of things as well, because like I'm trying to like expand my game and get as good at jiu-jitsu as possible overall, rather than like sticking to the same stuff every single circuit of tournaments. I think that's maybe like more closed-minded. So like I try to like, especially with my guard, trying to adapt that to be a bit more like offensive as well, because I do have a lot of submissions for when I'm past the guard. Like I don't really have anything before that. I have to get to dominant. That's always been like my style, is to be in dominant positions before I can go to submission. I'm trying to change that now, because again, it correlates much better into submission only and like this sort of format as well. So, and I need to have better submissions overall. So yeah, I'm excited to showcase that.
Awesome. Well, Ffion, thank you so much for your time. If anybody wants to book you for a seminar or kind of see what you're up to, what's the best place for them to do that?
You can email me. DMing me is difficult, as you guys know.
Sure.
I bet you get a lot of people, because I get them asking me for like feet pictures and underwear pictures.
They want me to squeeze their head with my legs. It's very specific.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to do that.
I was gonna ask you that at some point, and I was like, what's gonna be my end to bring up the creepy DMs? But I get the creepy DMs, so if I get them, I'm sure you get like tenfold.
Yeah, I get really funny voice notes. Just people voice noting me, and I'm like, that's terrifying.
Do you listen to them? Like most of them?
Of course.
What's the creepiest one you got? I love this question. What's the weirdest one you got?
There was heavy breathing into this.
Oh, nice.
Just heavy breathing.
It's like, and I was like, okay. And then in the most generic Brazilian accent, I don't know why, it sounded like someone I knew. I didn't know this person, but like, it sounded like someone. I was like, who is this? Broken English. Hello, Fiona.
Fiona, you like that one, yeah?
I want to wrestle with you. How much for wrestle with you? And I was like,
how much for wrestle with you?
Yeah, I mean, not too bad.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. I was expecting something really bizarre, because I have some of my friends, and they'll like send me, like they'll show me some of their DM messages, and it's when people have the ability to send out stuff anonymously with no repercussions, it's very awkward. And it's not just the guys either. I've had some really gnarly, weird messages. Like I had one woman send me a message. She said that I posted a video about smash pressure or whatever. She's like, if you were smashing me, I wouldn't try to escape. And then like later on, I posted a picture of me and my wife, and she's like, at least she came back and apologized. You know what I mean? But it was like, sorry about that one. So,
people just comment about my feet a lot. That's about it.
I get that one too. They want to sniff my feet. So.
Oh, someone wanted to buy me the other day. He said, "How much?"
What?
I was like, "Not for sale. I'm not for sale."
But going back to you. Sorry, we're not. So, what is your email address? Because your DMs are loaded with stuff. What's your email address?
And I'll share that in the comment, or not in the comments, in the description.
It's FfionSeminars@gmail.com. Ffion with 2 F's. It's not a mistake. It's my name. Yeah.
And there's a reason. There's a reason for the 2 F's, right? That's
there
like
is,
yes. What is the reason for that?
Because it is a Welsh name. I am Welsh, not from Finland. And in Wales, 1 F makes a V noise, and 2 F's makes a regular noise. So
okay.
We don't have V's in Welsh.
Super cool.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. Best of luck, March 11th.
Thank you.
Good
and
luck.
you.
Yes. Thanks for taking the time to be with us on the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank
it was
you.
nice
Thanks
chatting
so
with you.
much, guys. You too.
All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that podcast. Hopefully you got some ideas, some perspective, something to chew on for the day. Again, I really enjoyed this podcast with Ffion, and again, there's plenty of really useful lessons in there, and I'm hoping hoping some of you guys pick something up from that.
She was super fun.
Yeah,
she was really fun to talk to. Very humble, kind of funny, silly.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. It was good to see, like, just, I mean, because she's a heck of a competitor, but it's also fun to see like the other side, kind of how she came up to be and kind of became this grappler she is now.
Well, it's interesting. The last couple of guests that we've had from the UK, they started off in judo and then made their transition to jiu-jitsu. I'm sure there's going to be some like internet judo person that's like, yeah, see, this is why judo's superior, but it's not that.
Well, when we had Owen on, Owen basically said like, hey, there's just not, you don't really have wrestling. You don't have, jiu-jitsu is not really prevalent. So like you get into these aggressive or physical sports like rugby or, judo, which is a lot more commonplace. I think jiu-jitsu is probably the inverse or the substitute for that in the States. But they get in that judo, and also I think that it's got a lot of carryover. I mean, it's one-on-one. It's kind of a physical.
You're still grappling.
You're still grappling. It's an important component, and I think a lot of us in jiu-jitsu don't have that stand-up, and I think so. You have a little edge in some capacity there as well.
Well, that's why wrestlers do so well. Like when wrestlers come over, they just right into no-gi, no problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, big thanks to our sponsors for helping bring this podcast to your ears every week. Charlotte's Web, you can check them out at charlottesweb.com. Again, my encouragement to you is if you've never tried CBD and you'd like to, Charlotte's Web is an excellent company that makes a terrific product. that's third-party tested to make sure that it's pure, and what is in there is what's in the label is what's inside. And they have options for people who don't have any problems with testing. And then if you are someone that has to test and, pissing hot for certain substances could be a problem, check out their Daily Sports Edge product, which again is NSF certified sport, which is something that, again, even organizations like USADA endorse that as being a safe thing to use when you have to test. Do your research, of course, but check it out. And again, if you want to try out any of their products, do so by going to charlottesweb.com. And then the promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20 for 20% off.
I do want to add, if you're nervous about even taking like the oral stuff, I've had some back issues and I was using the topical, the balm, and it's been really helpful. Just helps kind of, really, like if it's more of a muscular thing, it's really helpful. I've used it during training, after training. So it's been helpful for me. So that's something to look at. They have a lot of good balms on their website too.
They do. Yeah. I remember when we were coming back from after he was done competing in Nogi Worlds, I had some of the balm and I was like,
it's good. It helps. It helps for sure.
Also, guys, check out epicrollbjj.com. That's the website. Epic Roll is a jiu-jitsu company by a black belt in jiu-jitsu who makes gear, apparel, and everything else for us jiu-jitsu people. And again, cool designs, quality stuff. I'm a fan of it. I wear stuff all the time. I train in his gear all the time. So again, it's got like two chewy thumbs up of approval.
And a good dude. And that's a great dude.
He's a good guy. So I, again, he makes good stuff and I like supporting him because he's a good dude. I like doing business with someone that I like and that I think has a good heart in it. And if you want to check him out, go to his website at epicrollbjj.com. Look around on the website, see if there's something that strikes your eye. If you want to make a purchase and you like to save some money, just use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu and you'll save 15% on the order. And guys, if you are a fellow bearded man like myself, then I encourage you to go to manscaped.com and check out their beard hedger. They've got a new product out where it's a trimmer. It's got the trimmer, but it has a adjustable guard built right into it. And again, it's a quality trimmer with that adjustable guard. I've been playing around with it. They sent us one and I've been using it. I'll probably maybe need to do a tutorial. I always get beard questions. People say like, what do you do to your beard? How do you trim your beard? And again, you go shorter on some sides, you go longer in different sides. And so you kind of like shape it up a little bit. But for now, we're not going to go through a beard tutorial. But again, if you guys want to check out some of their products, again, they're a premier men's grooming company. They have everything from balms, lotions, deodorants, soaps, to things like beard trimmers. I'm going to call them a body trimmer, like for your body hair.
Body groomer
to nose trimmers, all the stuff that, we start to get into as we get a little older. We want to take care of our body fuzz and shape things up a little bit. So again, if you guys want to check them out, do so by going to manscaped.com. And if you go there and you find something you want, use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu20. That'll give you 20% off the order. You'll get free shipping and you'll help support the podcast. And if you guys want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Along with joining, you get access to an exclusive library of content that includes a little nugget of information from each one of our guests that we've ever had, along with different exclusive things like videos and rolling stuff like that we put up there into it. And you get two bonuses. One is a sort of, what's the term, mobility / muscle activation warm-up that you could use for jiu-jitsu, specifically targeted for jiu-jitsu, that Eugene made. Again, a doctor of physical therapy who's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, who then can kind of bring those two things together to make something useful to people that are struggling with like tight hips and shoulders and stuff like that. And then I have a seminar that I recorded that I put up there as well as a nice little bonus for you guys when you join. And so again, you get access to that by joining at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And last but not least, guys, if you want to get my daily email that I send out, gives you an idea to chew on, something to chew on, then go to my website at chewjitsu.net, chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. And when you join, you'll get access to some exclusive ebooks. You'll get my daily email. You can unsubscribe at any time, and you'll also get access to some exclusive offers that I only send out through the email, since for me, a lot of times the email is the easiest way for me to communicate, where there's less noise. Like, again, the people's Instagram, there's stuff going on through Instagram, whereas like with the email, I can send it to you directly and you can read it and you can get access to it. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for being here. And also go make sure if you're interested, check out the Polaris show, March 11th. Again, it'll be on UFC Fight Pass. If you need more details about when it's going to start and all that stuff, just go to Polaris Pro, prograppling.com, and that'll give you the info. And again, it should be a good show. I'm excited to see it as a fan of jiu-jitsu.
Main events can be cool. It's gonna be Owen Livesey,
yeah.
Owen Livesey against Chris Weidman.
Yeah, so we had him on as a guest last, and again, you have two guys that are going to fight for the takedown. Which, again, I don't care who says what. Seeing two guys that are good at takedowns fight for takedowns, that's always fun.
It is.
You know, see, like, and again, it's like you have two. Owens obviously had wrestling because he said he had wrestling experience before and everything else on one of the podcasts that we had. And obviously Chris Weidman was a great wrestler, good jiu-jitsu or good wrestler in MMA as well. So seeing two guys but Owens primarily judo, who's adapted it to nogi, then you've got a primarily wrestler who's then adapted it to jiu-jitsu and everything else, and seeing them come together, that's going to be fun.
They've both been training with some, Chris Weidman's been training with John Danaher and all those guys. So that's pretty cool to, see what kind of stuff he comes up with. John Danaher, obviously incredible, probably game plan is going to be ideal. It's going to be perfect for Owen, and Owen's going to be ready to go after it.
Yeah. And Owen had such a good mindset. Like when he was on the podcast, it was just like a guy from like a working class part of town, just ready to get out there and get after it, and hard worker. So I think it sounds like a fun match to me. So I'll be watching. And again, if you guys want to watch it as well, March 11th on UFC Fight Pass. And guys, I think that's it. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.